Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. Welcome to the Clutter Fairy Weekly for February 18th, 2020. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, broadcasting from the Clutter Fairy Annex,
East.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. How are you doing? The Clutter Fairy Weekly is a webcast and a podcast that where we offer organizing strategies, and we answer your questions and give you strategies and tips. And we're doing it every week. And we do it based on all of your comments and questions and suggestions that you make on all of our channels. So thank you so much for doing that.
A couple of quick notes for anyone joining us for the first time. If you're participating in the Zoom meeting, share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. We're also streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and suggestions there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. During the live webcast each Tuesday, you can also talk to us directly by calling 669-900-6833. Use meeting ID 993-419-863 to join the meeting. Okay, let's get to the show. We both had crazy busy weeks, and so we decided this would be a good week to go to our comments, because questions and comments have been kind of piling up faster than we can even answer them. And so,
which is awesome.
Today's show is going to be nothing but responding to feedback from viewers and listeners. And
how did I'm going to pause and ask you, how did the move go?
Oh, thank you. Yes. The move was an endless adventure. And and I think I will probably have a lot to say about it soon.
You got to give a report from Clutter Fairy East.
Yeah, I mean, we really reached the point where, like, we were joking in the lead up to the move that, you know, I would say, okay, that was crisis number 23 handled, and now I need to go back to crisis number 17, which is as yet unresolved. And seriously, I'm just going to give you one example, but I think it kind of sums it all up. And that is, last Monday, I went to take a shower, and I moved the shower head, and it broke off in my hand. This was in the old apartment, so I had to call maintenance and ask them to come replace the shower head so that I could take 3 more showers. And I think that's kind of our
move. That was par for the course for the move. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yeah. There were parts that were much.
Sorry.
There were also parts that were much worse than that, unfortunately. But we're here. We're safe. Our dog likes our new place, and so things are looking up. So.
Good. We're glad that it's over, except for the unpacking.
JC said the apartment didn't want you to leave, but we actually were thinking the opposite, which was the apartment was trying to expel us.
That's awesome. Well, you are now officially expelled, and you now are in Chattanooga. So thank you for, coming back and getting online to do our broadcast, even though your whole house is a wreck. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let's get on to the show.
Okay.
In response to a recent episode about the clutter life cycle, a lot of viewers told us about projects that they've undertaken. One of our UK viewers told us that she had done a 30-day minimalism challenge to get craft supplies under control. And another viewer named Audrey, who watched on Facebook, told us that she's doing something she called Frugal February.
Yes, Audrey said that she had inherited a bunch of stuff after her parents passed away, and her brother moved out of state, and then soon after that, she inherited stuff from her sister. So she found herself dealing with a bunch of grief as well as being completely overwhelmed. She's used some of the strategy that we've suggested to call and donate and to thin the herd, as I like to say. It sounds like she's making great progress. She decided to start 2020 as a no-buy year, which is a very interesting concept, and to focus on using up the products she has in the house that she's already got and before she adds something new. She's also tracking her food and gasoline purchases, and she's trying to stick to a budget. And so first I want to tell Audrey, I'm so sorry for all those losses. Being the last one standing is a really, really hard position to be in. It would be really overwhelming for anybody to deal with your parent stuff and then one of your sibling stuff as well. Next, I want to say that you're really tackling this from several directions, and they're all designed to help you reframe how you spend money and how you accumulate stuff. And clearly you've gotten over the hurdle about getting started because you've got all these things going and you're hitting it really hard. With the combo of a no-buy year and a new budget and decluttering, you're really after some big changes, I can tell. Good luck, and I hope that you will keep us up to date because we'd love to hear how it's going. Sometimes when you start a big decluttering project and you make a bunch of other changes at the same time, you'll, just like any New Year's resolution, you might find yourself a little overwhelmed. So, or you do it for a little while and then you feel like you can't keep up all the pieces. And so don't worry if your commitment slips, you can stop and restart. It's just like any diet. It's just like any change. It doesn't always stick 100% up front, and there's no impediment to restarting again fresh tomorrow every time you feel like you're not following your plan. So just reset, step back to the plan. And if you're having any specific problems with the process, I would hope that you would come back and ask questions, and we'd love to support you on that.
All right, thanks. We got a ton of comments on our show about a recent show about downsizing, and there was one in particular that jumped out at me. This is from YouTube viewer I Am Jane. Jane says, I love the idea of downsizing in place but pretending you're moving. I have been doing this over the past year. My husband thinks I'm a little crazy, but I think he's beginning to see the light. It feels so light to have only what we need and use, and to know that a move will not be a traumatic ordeal. There is a great sense of calm in the house, and I'm learning to love having a few blank spaces. We have no plans to move at this time, but we will be ready when a great opportunity presents itself, or an urgent need. Because let's be honest, we will all leave our current living space at some time, whether planned or not.
Yeah, and when you have that chance to plan a move or the need to suddenly get out, the future you will be so grateful and thanking yourself that you did all this work at a slow and steady pace in advance. That's really a great thing. And it's interesting that you commented on being able to see blank spaces. I often find when I work with clients that they're so used to there being stuff there that when the space is blank or the floor is uncovered and you see the carpet or the something not leaning up against the wall and now it's just wall, they're kind of shocked and stunned a little bit, and they're not really sure how to live with that. It's like, you can just leave that blank. You don't have to refill it. It can just be empty space. And then you can have the benefit of the empty space, which is peace of mind and all the other things, like it's easy to maneuver and walk through, and it is there's no physical hazards, and you don't have anything that is chittering at you as you walk by. There's not something in the hallway going, it's in the way, it's in the way, it's in the way. And so aiming for those blank spaces and planning to have some of them stay blank is an adjustment that people have to make mentally. After years of having it be full, it feels awkward and weird when you have things that are blank suddenly. And so just know that you might have some mental adjustments to make. Anybody else that has that is dealing with, I've uncovered a space, now what do I do with it? The answer can be nothing. You can just leave it and it'll be okay. But thank you for commenting, Jane, and I appreciate that. And it's downsizing is a challenge for everybody, and anything that you can do in advance will save your life. And JC was telling us earlier before we started that she had inherited a bunch of family stuff, and she has a wall of boxes in her hallway that came from what was left of her mother-in-law's stuff. And the mother-in-law spent 3 years getting rid of stuff in advance so that they only had a double row of boxes in their hall instead of being completely crowded out of the apartment. And she's already gotten it from two rows of boxes into one row, and so she's cut it in half, and they're working their way through it slowly, and it isn't fast. So that process is going to require somebody's time somewhere, and it might as well be you while you're not in a fire drill to move. And if you can do it now and carefully and comfortably and without physical stress, getting stuff out of the house and letting go of it, then when you do get to the move part, you're going to be in much better shape, and it won't be as terrible as Ed's move.
Yes.
As stressful as Ed's move. But you guys decluttered a lot, Ed, truly. I mean, I know you guys went through and you let go of a whole bunch of stuff, and you gave things back to me that were, here's your electronics, and you gave things to friends, and you had a lot of stuff not get packed to go with you. And so you reduced your own burden that way really well, I thought.
Why it was shocking to find that we still had way too much stuff.
Right? And you kept saying there's too much stuff, and I'm like, where? There's not much here. And yet you came up with stuff anyway. That's okay.
Well, it's kind of striking that when you put everything you own in boxes and gather it all into, the biggest
pile
room of the house, it's like, how in the world did this even fit in here? I don't understand, Right? It's sort of amazing.
It is amazing.
I want to take a second to remind people who are watching on YouTube that you can join us live. If you join our meetup group at cfhou.com/meetup, you'll get notifications about when our meetings are, and you can join us live Tuesdays at noon Central Time. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I think 7 p.m. in Paris and
Germany.
Essen. Yes.
Right.
And so on. And we'd love for you to join us live. And I also want to remind those who are watching live that we have lots and lots and lots of videos of our past meetups and Clutter Fairy Weekly on YouTube at cfhou.com/YouTube.
There it is. cfhou/YouTube. There we go. Okay.
Okay, and so the next thing we had was from Kitty Kisses, said, I thought I'd ask for some help. I'm trying to declutter a room full of collections, yay, but I'm torn between mixed signals I've gotten. Someone has said it must be hard letting go of your things when I've made sales, but has also made comments about me having too much and filling up a couple of rooms. That's burdened my mind on what the right thing to do is. Having a much less cluttered space would be great, but I worry about them saying something negative about me letting go of things.
So first of all, let me just say it's your stuff and you can do what you want with it, right? Like, this is why other people helping you declutter is always a problem, because everyone has an opinion about what you should do with your stuff, but the only opinion that really matters is yours. So if listening to other people's opinions is hanging you up, I would say remind yourself this is no different than somebody who's making a comment about your clothes or your hairdo. Their opinion is not really important. It's what is important to you. So we all have to be the final arbiters on what we're going to keep and what we're going to let go of. And we also have to pick a priority of what is the most important result that you want. So is it more important that you get money out of the collections, or is it more important that you get space in your house? And so you get to pick which of those priorities is more important. And maybe if you're trying to get rid of stuff in a hurry or clear the space in a hurry, then the goal to resell the things isn't as important as clearing up the space. And so the thing about selling collections is selling things is the slowest and least volume producing solution to decluttering. Like, you can declutter in a much faster way if you are giving it away, donating it away, that kind of stuff. Making it go freely out into the universe is a whole different process than item A is on sale for $20 or $50 or $100, and I have to do all the things necessary to be a store and to sell something to somebody and package and ship it. And I understand that collections end up having a bunch of money invested in them, and so you want to try to get the money out. But the truth is, part of what you're buying when you buy collectibles is you're buying the entertainment factor of hunting that collectible and getting it away from somebody else. There's this whole, like, I got it and you didn't thing that happens about collectibles. And it doesn't always permanently imbue the thing with that dollar value. Like, you may have spent $100 for it and you're not always going to get $100 out of it the second time when you go to sell it again. And so all collections are different, all markets are different, all markets are constantly changing. And so the whole selling environment around the stuff that you own is a minefield of things that slow you down and make it difficult for you to let go of them.
Haven't we heard from people who do like estate sailing professionally that at any given time they're only, typically, a half dozen or 10, maybe 10 lines of things.
Yeah, categories of stuff
that are hot, that are what you can actually turn around for a profit.
Yeah. And the thing about it is, with the stuff that you're collecting is always the stuff that you collect it because you are into it and you love it and you don't want to sell it. So it's never actually profit unless you're in the business of trading. Like, you buy it with the intent to resell later and make money off of it. And so if you just collect it because you love it and you convince yourself that the collection is going to be worth a lot of money someday, it's like you have no guarantee about that environment. You just have no guarantee what's going to be hot 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. And, the historical example is Beanie Babies. Everybody lost their mind about the stupid Beanie Baby stuffed animals, and they sunk their retirement money into Beanie Babies thinking that they were going to trade hot forever. And the people that ended up losing their shirts were the ones that bought in, and then they were still holding them when the market fell out and nobody cared about Beanie Babies anymore. And so that's the thing about collectibles, that demand is not guaranteed, and it is not forever, and it is not always at an ever increasing price. And so you have to know that when you're evaluating what is my goal. If somebody is saying, oh, it's hard to let go of stuff, yes, it is. And your goal is, I would like to not have taken up 2 rooms. I don't want my collection to be so big anymore. I would like to reclaim some portion of this space. And so you get to decide what is the way to do that. And if selling is too slow, then maybe you want to do a combination of, I'm going to sell the cream of the crop. I'm going to put all of my selling effort into the stuff that is the, top 10% that is really going to bring the most money. And then the other stuff is stuff that collectively, for volume's sake, for a large change in my environment, I'm going to let these things go a different way other than selling piece by piece. Because it takes so much time. There's so much effort into doing that. It's a very, very slow peel. And the risk is always that while you're slowly selling, you might also be slowly acquiring somewhere else. So you risk, when you slow down the clutter redistribution to that speed, you risk that you're giving it away slow enough that you can build it up on the other end at the same time and not really making any change in your environment. So I appreciate that somebody's giving you feedback about what you're doing, and trust yourself about what is the most important. It may be hard to give up things in the collection, but it isn't that you're not going to get rid of all of it. You can't find some of it again some other day. You may give away this particular one and never be able to get it again, but you'll get some other thing someday. And so don't second guess yourself is what I'm trying to say here, and let someone interrupt what you have started as, I need to unburden myself. I need this collection to be smaller. Therefore, I'm going to do what I need to do to make that be true. And, invite them not to share their opinion anymore in a nice way.
I thought
Right?
it was, it sounds from Kitty, the way Kitty wrote her comment, that it's the same person,
Mm-hmm.
both,
Saying both comments, yeah.
questioning, gosh, are you sure you want to get rid of that stuff? And saying you have too much stuff. And that sort of points out that the person offering that feedback is conflicted.
Yeah, it's struggling as well.
And like you said, it's your choice. It's yours and the people you share your home, your space with, and nobody else's. It's really it's unfair for somebody to add that extra layer of guilt
pressure
and judgment.
Yeah. And truthfully, if the person is your spouse, your roommate, your housemate, if it's the person who is living in the space and is feeling crowded by the collection, and also is feeling like the collection has value and needs to sell, and it's hard for you to give up, like they're just reflecting their own dichotomy of response to the stuff. And we all sit in that space, right? We all want to have the things, and we also don't want to be drowning in the things. And so it is a balance that we all have to reach about at what point, at what volume level does this stuff become clutter and noise and stop being enriching and lovely and fun for me. And everybody's volume level and threshold is different, right? Like the amount of stuff that you can live with and still enjoy and use is 100% different for every person. And so it sounds like the other person is sort of reaching their threshold of, this is too visually busy, this is too much going on, this space is too crowded, and oh darn, it must be a bummer that you have to get rid of your stuff. but clearly it is overwhelming to somebody. And so we all have that level, and you get to decide at what point it has reached the level that you can't cope with anymore, and you need to do something about it. And do you have to sell your whole collection? No, that may not be your goal. But maybe you decide that the collection needs to fit in a finite container, right? So maybe that container is 1 room instead of 2, or 3 boxes instead of 6, or fill in the blank, right? You can decide that there's a finite amount of space that you will surrender to any collection, and this is the space, it's these 5 shelves or whatever. I often get people who, they call me, and the books are a perfect example. Well, I need, my problem in the house is that I need more bookshelves. No, it's not. It's not that you need more furniture to put more things on. It's that you need to decide how much of your space you're going to surrender to whatever collection it is you have. And adding more and more pieces of furniture to hold more and more stuff is just more densely packing your living space. And so we all have to decide how dense we want it to be. And it may be that our interest in the collection is bigger than our space can absorb. And that's always, a bummer to figure out that we live someplace that we can't have an endless supply of shoes, right? Like everybody wants their closet to hold more and more and more shoes so that they can have more shoes. But the truth is, our house walls are not moving, and filling it with more furniture and densely packing it more is not improving your quality of life. It's impeding your quality of life in the house. And so more cabinets, more storage is not always the answer. It's really looking at, I have a collection and it has now outstripped the space that I live in.
Gayle, Susie on Facebook had a relevant comment. She said, I think it is easier to let go of a whole collection instead of making a hard decision about each piece. or just keep the one most special piece that inspired the start of your collection.
Right. And everybody collects, like you start collecting something and then all of your friends and relatives like jump on the bandwagon, and suddenly it's easy to give you a Christmas gift because you collect cats, frogs, Star Trek, fill in the blank, right? And so you end up with a whole bunch of pieces that you didn't have anything to do with picking. Or we all have that moment where, I mean, and I do this about beads, right? We all have this moment where it's like, oh my God, beads, ah! And you buy like mad because you're in a buying frenzy of whatever your interest is, whatever your collection is, and you end up buying things that on second thought and on further reflection, you're like, yeah, that's not really the best one, and yeah, I don't really need that. And so Susie's right that you can edit that collection down to the most special pieces. There is a gradation of importance and value to the things that you have collected, and you can put the top 5 pieces or top 3 pieces on display, and then you can look at the rest and go, okay, these do not give me the same jazz at all as these 3 or these 5 do that are really special. And so you can keep the ones that are the most emotionally juicy for you, and you can let some of the volume go. And we all also have the experience of being in love with a collection and then later in life falling out of love with the collection. Like things that you collected when you were in high school may not be things you love in your 40s. And so that's a perfect candidate for, okay, that collection was part of my younger life, and I can just let this whole collection go on to somebody else. And I see that happening a lot, actually. You know, people get into their 60s and they're like, I've been collecting this for 20 years, and okay, that was a lot of fun for 20 years, and now I'm done. Bob is a perfect example. Bob's golf book collection. Bob would travel for work, and he would buy golf books everywhere that he went. And so he had this huge wall of golf books. And it's funny because a whole lot of it was green, because they would always print the book with like green background or spines or, print. So he had this huge wall of golf books. And it's like, okay, we're going to get out of this house, and I don't need to have a golf collection of my entire work travel life on the wall anymore. And he donated the whole collection. And so he had his entertainment for 30 years, and then he passed the collection on to somebody else. And you can totally do that too. Thanks for the comment, Susie.
Margaret said, hey, Gayle, I need another bookcase. I really do.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Right. You're going to have to talk about that offline.
Is that my Margaret here?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Karen on Facebook said, Gayle, I have some rooms that stay uncluttered, but yet have other rooms that are full of piles. I am doing better mastering the piles, but lose momentum. Any suggestions?
So I'm guessing that the rooms that are uncluttered are the ones where you've solved the problem for the stuff that's in there. So it's time for a little data analysis, right? You need to go into the rooms that still have the piles and ask yourself, you don't have to ask it about everything in the room, but just pick one pile and go, okay, what's in this pile, and what am I keeping the stuff for? What is here, and what am I keeping it for, and why? And then how often do I have to interact with it, and does this have a home? Everything that's in a pile is something that doesn't have a home. It doesn't have some place to go and be put away. And so you're putting it into a pile in lieu of, this goes in the kitchen, this is a glass and it goes in the kitchen cabinet. This is, shampoo and it goes in the bathroom cabinet. This is my clothes and they go in the closet, right? There's things that have obvious homes that don't require any thought. And then there are the things in your life that you actually have to think about what it is and how you use it and plan a home for it. And so you're probably living with the things that were not easy or obvious to determine what the home is, and you have to do a little thought process about it. And so ask yourself the questions, what is this? Why am I keeping it? What am I going to use it for? When am I going to use it? And all of those questions help you answer where it's going to go. If you're going to use it all the time, it needs to be in a much more accessible place If you're not going to use it very often, then the new home needs to be, it can be something that's not as accessible, that you have to sort of go unpack to get it. And then if it's something that you're using all the time, you have to say, where am I going to use this in the house? When do I need this fill in the blank thing? And it should live near or in where you are going to use it. And it should be easy to put away and pick back up again. And the danger is that I'm not advocating leaving things out, but there are things that make sense, like, you use deodorant every day. So I have a medicine cabinet in the bathroom, and the deodorant that I'm using is in the medicine cabinet, and so it's open, grab, use, put away, close, and it's done. And so there's nose spray and my hairbrush, and they are all in the bathroom where I use them, and they're easy access in the bathroom. And then I have things in the bathroom that are in the cabinets underneath and in drawers underneath that I don't get into very often, and so then I have to get on the floor or bend down and look in and get underneath, and those things come out much less often. And so that theory of setting up the bathroom for the stuff that you use every day to get dressed, for instance, having those things accessible and out translates to all things. You have to analyze what it is and why you're using it, and then plan a home based on the answers to those questions. Hopefully that helps, and please ask it, if I'm not clear about something, please ask again. I want you to be successful. And it's likely that you can't tackle all the piles in the room. The answers to the questions will not be the same for all the piles in the room. So you're going to have to repeat as you undo these piles around the house.
Karen replied, perfect, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
She says, I will keep pushing forward until no more piles.
Yay.
Charlotte, who we've talked to before, said, I have enamel supplies, lots of it. I will not be making more enamels. What should I do with these supplies? They're expensive. And we talked about creative reuse centers. If something that, do you take any kind of art supplies to Texas Art, for example?
Yeah. An enameling, a collection of enamel stuff I would definitely take there. And so I don't know if there's a reuse center in her area, but she's also part of a school. And so
right.
There's a lot of art teachers there, I'm sure. Build a collection, get an item count, say there's, I have 25 jars of enameling stuff, whatever give a basic description and offer it as a lot to the art teachers that might be willing to use it. And if not there, then offer it as a lot to a high school teacher, somebody that's not in your college environment. You're an art teacher. Any art teacher would be happy to have those supplies. And so it's just a matter of what you're willing to do to relocate them. And I think a bulk price that is a huge discount on the items is a way for you to sell that, and call and talk to individual teachers. If you can't get them, if you can't get a handle in your own school environment, and there isn't somebody there that would like to buy the whole collection for a flat rate, then I would move on to calling art teachers in local high schools and asking them, hey, I've got this supply. There's 25 jars. I want to get, $200. They're 50% used. Would you be interested? And seeing if somebody wants to buy it off of you as a bulk. It's no different than going to Sam's and buying things in volume discounts, right? And you're trying to get a little bit of money back, not all of it, because they got used. Some of them got used, and you want them gone. And so if you make it a super attractive price, even somebody who isn't desperate for them might buy them just because it'd be fun to get into enameling not at the full price. I think that'd be my best suggestion for now.
Well, and people should, people who have art and craft supplies to unload should search for a creative reuse center in their area. There are a lot more of them cropping up, and if you just if you just go to your search engine and put in creative reuse and the name of the place you live, you might find something. There are really now. I'm looking at a list that well, this is an old list, so this is probably not even complete, but with probably 200, most of them in the United States and Canada, but elsewhere worldwide.
There's also there's lots of creative groups on Facebook as well, and you might search on Facebook for enameling groups, people that do enameling work. There's probably some collective groups there, and you could join the group and then say, hi, I have these supplies. Would anybody be interested in buying them? And so you can put them in front of an audience of, a targeted audience of people that are already doing enameling. They might be super happy to get what in essence is a wholesale discount on supplies that they're using regularly. And so do a little Facebooking as well and see what kinds of enameling groups are out there. And if you can pay to ship them, or you can try to find somebody that is local, but you ought to be able to talk to people on Facebook, and some of them will be in your area, even if all of them aren't. And it's a way to get it to people that are interested in the supply already, because they're already doing it.
Charlotte says, thanks for the good ideas.
You're welcome.
Well, we are about out of time.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it went really fast. We have still more that we didn't get to, and we'll save them for next time. I want to remind everybody that our next webcast is Tuesday, February 25th, noon Central Time, live in Zoom and streaming on Facebook. And let's hold up the Facebook address. cfhou.com/Facebook gets you to the Clutter Fairy Facebook page. And then you can also subscribe to our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We do not spam you. We might send you something 3 times a year in a really busy year. We love to hear from you, so please send us your questions and topic suggestions in the YouTube comments, and you can always reach us through our website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Yay, thanks everybody for coming. It was great for you to participate in advance and to send all your questions, and we so appreciate them, and we love answering them. So we appreciate you sending them on every week, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.